Eddie Hearn now says he wants to see what the sales are like for Wilder Fury before he makes an adjusted offer for Joshua Wilder. Stay tuned. Boxingego here. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon on the top of your screen to get notified when the latest new content drops. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang, notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the Super Chats, channel donations, the Venmo donations, and the Patreon family. We working. Now, shout out to Sky Sports. Link is in the description box. And the title says Hearn to wait and see with Wilder. Promoter Eddie Hearn wants to see proof of Deontay Wilder's popularity before he adjusts a deal for the Anthony Joshua fight. So naturally, me reading that headliner and subheader, I'm like, what? And I'll read a direct quote from Eddie Hearn. And he's talking about a Wilder Joshua. He'll consider 50-50 if Wilder's pay-per-view does great numbers, at least 1 million buys or more. He says, quote, I think they want to see how the numbers will do. If disappointing sales, it probably makes it harder because we're going to look at it and say, look, you're not a draw. I actually want it to do better than to do worse because if it does bad, he has zero bargaining position. If it does well, then we'll accept that. If it does over 1 million buys, then we will have to look closer to 50-50. I just want to make progress, just have a chat. I don't expect them to sign the fight before December 1st, but the problem is if we start after December, we've got to go through a process that we could be going through now. It's a bit frustrating. Ultimately, because of the lateness of the fight, we would want an agreement in place with Dillian Whyte, probably going into this fight for April 13th. If we get to stage where Wilder fight is not happening, we would like to tie this up because we don't really want to wait until December 22nd. So the bottom line is this, like it's looking pretty bad for Eddie Hearns and Anthony Joshua. He's telling you right now that we need a deal in place for Dillian Whyte to fight against Anthony Joshua in April, right? He's also trying to explore and like show you the complexities or whatever you want to call it of making this Wilder fight so they have something to fall back on, right? Because new media, as I've been saying, the plan was not really the winner of Wilder Fury. You hear you keep hearing Wilder this, Wilder that, but it's hard and they don't want to meet up and boo-hoo. But if you really truly wanted to be undisputed, you wouldn't even be mentioning Dillian Whyte as, you know, a front runner. Because let's say Wilder's team is outrageous, just hypothetically. Let's say their demands are outrageous, and no way in hell they deserve this and that. What about Tyson Fury's team? What if he wins the fight? Why have you not tried to meet up with him? Maybe Frank Warren will do it, you know, because he wants what's best for his client. So surely he could put, you know, personal beef or whatever aside. You know, if you're targeting one guy in a what is on paper a 50-50 fight, a good stylistic matchup, it's not like we haven't seen Tyson Fury play the underdog role and emerge the victor. He did it with Vladimir Klitschko, and he did it before Anthony Joshua. So there's no way you could count Tyson Fury out. And you notice Eddie Hearns is not mentioning Tyson Fury at all, and he has a possibility of winning. I'm not saying that's my fight prediction, but being realistic, I can't count Tyson Fury out, right? And you could say Tyson Fury's boring, or you don't like him, or his breath smells, whatever you want. If he wins, he will have the WBC strap, which is what Joshua needs, like Thanos. That's the Infinity Stone. That's the belt. That's the final Zelda link. that he needs. So if this was really about undisputed, you wouldn't even be talking about Dillian Whyte. You would merely be talking about fighting the winner, not just Wilder, and making it sound problematic and the troubles of making the fight. And, it's just all over the place. Now Eddie Hearns is saying we don't need a deal done before December 1st. But previously, after the Povetkin fight, after Joshua fought Povetkin, he was making statements about, oh, we're not going to wait till December 1st. We have to do this. Just look how many times the man has changed what he had to say. Eddie Hearns also said, before we really knew the Tyson Fury fight was actually happening, he says that he's going to send a contract with Anthony Joshua's name, which come to find out had his signature, not Joshua. And it was really the same deal, but worse, Shelly Finkel says, because they had changed some things. The money part was, I think, the same, and it had Eddie Hearns' signature, right? And Eddie Hearns was doing interviews saying, we have no reason to offer him more money. You said you would take this deal, so take it. You said you would take this deal. And that's perhaps one of the dumbest arguments that Eddie Hearns has made through this whole ordeal. They took the deal, or were willing to take the deal, to fight Anthony Joshua this year, September through December. Seeing how that did not happen, all bets are off. You can't hold somebody to some deal that you didn't push through because you wanted to fight Povetkin or the WBA ordered it or whatever, and hold them to a deal they agreed to, but you didn't follow through, right? If I have a MacBook that I'm selling on Craigslist, right, and then the person says, oh, okay, how much is it? It's $600 for your MacBook Pro. I'll buy it from you. I can meet you today, right? And then I'm like, all right, cool, let's meet at Starbucks. And then I don't show up with the MacBook Pro, and then the person drives there and they agreed to pay $600 for my MacBook Pro that I listed on Craigslist. I don't show up to Starbucks, and then, they end up leaving because I don't come. They get a coffee and leave. And 2 weeks later, I hit them up like, hey, you said you would buy this. Hey, man, that's not how that works. He or she was down to buy the MacBook for $600, meet then and there, that particular day, to purchase the laptop. So if I flaked or I stood him up, that doesn't mean the deal is everlasting, that I could reach out to that person 2 weeks later and they still want to buy it. You know why? Because they might have spent the money. They might have decided to get an iPad Pro, the new one that just came out. They might have bought a PC or just got the MacBook Pro from Best Buy, just opened up a credit card. That's not how deals work. That's why you have to strike while the iron's hot. If someone agrees to a deal, you take it, you sign it, push it through, and get it to the finish line. End of story. So, that was a really... it was like a redundant talking point from Eddie Hearn. Hey, we sent the contract. You already agreed to. They agreed to fight you next. They're not getting the fight next because Povetkin got it. So Eddie Hearns has just really been all over the place. If you think about it, he said he wasn't going to adjust the offer. Now, before the Fury fight, he says he will adjust the offer. Now he's saying he wants to see how it does pay-per-view buys, and it doesn't have to be done before December 1st, but we got to get Dillian Whyte in place. This is all what I predicted, new media. So it's not really shocking to me, but it's funny that at this stage that Eddie Hearns is still trying to save face when the world can see what happened. All you have to do is look at the steps. Don't take my word for it. You can hit the dislike button, whatever you want to do, but look at the facts. Look at what was done. And Eddie Hearns realizes he's losing. There's a great book that a lot of you guys need to read. Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power, right? And it tells you how to achieve, keep, and demand power, right? Very good book. And Eddie Hearns, Anthony Joshua, they're losing power. That's the best way to put it. I'm not saying Joshua's losing power from a physical sense, but losing power in terms of branding power, the A-side dominance, and you're a peasant and you have to do as I say. And Wilder is closing that gap, or Tyson Fury, or whoever wins. and then this stipulation that in today's boxing, he has to do over $1 million on his first pay-per-view. That's also security that you want to aim high, because listen, Miguel Cotto fought Canelo and they didn't even do over $1 million, and that was a big fight at that time. And Canelo, we know, has star power, right? So why is that the standard, that it has to be over $1 million? Like, what if it does, what if it does 750, 925,000, something like that? That's really reasonable for their first pay-per-view. Shit, even 500, 500,000 for a first time pay-per-view. Arturo Gatti and Floyd Mayweather was pay-per-view, and I think he was somewhere around there. I don't remember exactly off the top of my head. Golovkin, prior to linking up with Canelo, who has star power, and having the proper dance partner that had a bigger name than him, Golovkin's pay-per-views didn't do anything near that, and he was supposed to be a big star. His Daniel Jacobs and Lemieux fight, the pay-per-views combined, they did like 96 to 150,000 a piece. So combined, let's say 150 a piece. That's 300 pay-per-views. So as far as I'm concerned, if Wilder and Fury do better than both of Triple G's pay-per-views combined, that's a win. It's not, it's really not signed. They put Crawford on Postal on pay-per-view. That was 50,000. They did Ward Kovalev, and that didn't do 500,000. So anything above these types of numbers, I think, would be a solid win, because that means in their first outing on American pay-per-view, Wilder and Fury, it did good numbers. And you know what the thing is? I think it might do over $1 million. I hope it does, but I think it's possible. It's certainly possible. I'm just saying it's funny that Eddie Hearns tries to throw out this number, but if you look at the grand scheme of pay-per-view, the only one that's doing over $1 million in America is Floyd and Canelo, in UFC, like Conor McGregor, stuff like that. So it's just funny that's the man. I hope it crushes. I hope it does astronomical numbers, just so there's no excuse, and just so it'll point out the fight. And like, what I'm saying, I'm pushing for Derek Chisora. I like a good underdog story, and I don't want the promoters to feel that they could, like, play God in the sense of like orchestrating the fights how they want, and playing this Geppetto and trying to, be this puppeteer of boxing. Like, oh, I'm going to put Dillian Whyte. We could put him with Luis Ortiz, which, fans would like, or we could put him with Dominic Brazil to settle the WBC #1 mandatory. These are guys that Dillian Whyte has talked about fighting and or called out and or wanted to be the #1 guy within the WBC, because he allegedly wanted to fight against Deontay Wilder. But then you're going the route of a guy you already beat 2 years ago in Derek Chisora. So I hope Chisora does well. I mean, even if it's a war, Eddie Hearns, this is a bad look, because Derek Chisora, I thought, beat Dillian Whyte the first fight. You could say Dillian Whyte has improved, whatever, but the first fight, I think he won. He should have won. If it's a war, like where they're trading knockdowns, and let's say Dillian Whyte ultimately wins, but he gets knocked down or badly hurt, like he was hurt in the Joseph Parker fight, then this is all not going to be fitting for Joshua versus Dillian Whyte too. If he blows Derek Chisora out, that's the best possible scenario. If he just blew him out. But if it's a close fight, or you see him get hurt like the 12th round of the Joseph Parker fight, or I think the second round versus Robert Helenius, then it's going to be funny to me, because Eddie Hearns was saying that they were going to scale up Wembley in April to 100,000 plus. And if it's that type of rough and tumble affair, then there's no way that I can imagine that AJ and Dillian Whyte needs to have over 100,000. How is it going to surpass Joshua Klitschko? How is it going to surpass George Groves, Carl Froch 2? That was a bad blood rematch with controversy as to the stoppage, So we'll see how this all plays out. But, it sounds like Eddie Hearns is running on a treadmill. It really does. He's talking about sales. First he said, see, that's what I'm saying. Look how many times he's changed his story. First he said the fight won't happen. Now he's talking about it has to do great pay-per-view buys, and if it doesn't, look, you're not a draw. And he keeps saying, I actually wanted to do better than to do worse, because if it does bad, Wilder has zero bargaining position. No, you don't, because you wouldn't be casting that, you know, like trying to jinx it, like, oh, I don't even think it does 100,000. I don't think it does. That's not how people act when they want you to succeed. You know what I'm saying? If you genuinely wanted someone to succeed, you wouldn't be so pessimistic. Like, I don't think it breaks 200,000. I don't think the fight's gonna happen. You know, Tyson Fury might pull out. That's typically not how people act when they want something to do well. You know, if I started a restaurant and people were saying they're in my corner and they want my restaurant to succeed, and they'd be like, oh, you know, restaurants all close in the first year. 85% of restaurants close in the first year. What if your supplier starts charging more for the food, and then you might not be able to afford it? What if you don't get enough That's not what you do if you want someone to succeed. That's not how you generally would talk. If you want someone to succeed with you know, their endeavor, you wouldn't be like so pessimistic. That's my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think. Drop your thoughts in the comments section. Is Eddie Hearn all over the place? Make sure you smash the like button as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxingego, the future of boxing.